We both at this point had moved on to do other things within hospitality. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you want to write a book?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Have you started?" And she said, "No, I haven't." And she goes, "Well, what about you? I know you have always wanted to write a book. Have you started it?" I said, "No, Jill, I haven't." And we looked at each other. She went and found a sheet of paper. And in that moment, we wrote the outline for our first booklet, the RevPAR formula, which stands for revenue per available room, which is a hotel term. And we talked about our experiences in managing that hotel together, being in the trenches. We talked about how you can forge through those types of challenges and still be profitable.
Love it. I love it. And so you also have another book too, The 7 Easy Ways to Show Your Employees You Can Care. And what was the motivation for that book?
Oh, wow. Okay. So now I am, I'm relocated from Indianapolis to Springfield, Missouri, and I am teaching and I'm also working on my doctorate. So I'm a little bit removed from being in the industry, but all of my colleagues are still in the industry. My students are working in the industry. And I remember it was around Thanksgiving. I had went home to spend with my family. And whenever I would go home, I would reconnect with the hotels that I had worked at and managed. I would check into the managers that were still there operating the different properties. I would touch base to students that had graduated from the culinary college. And it just seemed like every single person that I had talked to, whether they were seasoned colleagues or they were new students branching out in the industry, they said one thing to me: "Miss Jokima, I love my job. I love working in the industry. I just wish the people in charge cared about me." And I remember at home with my parents sitting at, I don't know, a lot of things happen at the kitchen table. Sitting at the kitchen table during the Thanksgiving time, it just hit me and I said, "What am I supposed to do with that information? Why?" I'm not talking two or three people, but every single person that I had talked to during this holiday season. So we're talking double digits. It was maybe 10, maybe 15. I don't quite remember, but it was a significant number of people that I had talked to. All of them said, "I want to stay. I want to be a part of the hotel or the hospitality industry." But why don't they care about me, someone who's giving their all for them, making the guest happy, making the hotel look good? Why don't they care about me? If they would, I would be more excited, more loyal. And I just kept going, why is this touching me? Well, why are people telling me about this? What am I supposed to do with that? I can't be their supervisor. I'm not managing anymore. And something said to me, write what you would want those managers that are supervising others to know. Write a love letter to them that says, "Let me tell you how I cared for my employees during my time in the industry." And that's what I did. I sat down and I free flowing of remembering some key tactics and things that I did to care for my employees. When I was done, I had 7, and they were all easy, low cost. And I went back to my very first supervisor, the director of human resources of my first job when I was 15, 16 years old, and I had him write the foreword. And so he talks in the foreword about who I was growing up in the industry and how he showed me that he cared about me. I'm getting emotional. We're still good friends today. In fact, He doesn't know it, but I call him my godfather. And so then it was so appropriate to have him talk about how he coached me out of my shyness. And then I turned around and was able to come up with these 7 ways to care for my employees. And so that's how I look at it. It's my love letter. So I encouraged all of those colleagues that had come to me. I said, it's a bold move, but drop it off on their desk. They don't have to know where it came from. But maybe it will prick their heart.
Absolutely. One thing that I so appreciate about you is that you see a need, and as an innovator, you take action on it.
Yeah, I have to, because I wanted someone to do it for me. When I think about one of the things that my students say is, Miss Jokima, you have experienced so much, a lot of it negatively. When you've overcome these challenges, how? And I go, I honestly don't know how, because I was alone in many of those challenges. And when I think about the podcast that I have, Your Hospitality Moment That Mentors, what I did was one day I sat down and I wrote out all the situations that I had encountered in my life, in my career, where I was just twisting in the wind to try and figure it out. And that's what my podcast is about. Let me tell you about this situation, and here's how I handled it. Do that. You can learn from me that, or here's how I made it through. You want to do this. So if I can help someone, I really would love to do that.
And we will make sure that your podcast is included in the show notes too, because again, you're just giving so much. One thing you mentioned, you have referred to yourself, or your students have referred to you as Miss Jokima, but you're actually Dr.
Yeah.
Jokima Giller. And that's how we met, was when you joined the doctoral program. And I would say, tell us a little bit about why you decided to pursue a doctorate degree and a little bit about your dissertation research.
Sure. Let's see. I had transitioned into working for the culinary college, and I was just 2.5 hours away from my home in Northwest Indiana and from my alma mater, which is Purdue University Northwest. And so I would always say, hey, I'm coming into town. I would talk to my department head, who was still there, and to some of my professors and say, I'm coming home. Do you need me to speak? Do you have a class? What can I do? Do you want me to do some sort of promotional video? Use my time wisely while I'm home. And so I had gone and spoke as usual, and they pulled me aside afterwards and said, if you want to teach, which you should. And I told them, I know I'm teaching now at this culinary college, but I don't know that this is my future. There's something calling me back into the industry. I think I want to be the vice president of training and development. And so they were like, you need to be in the classroom.